Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for what is going to be a 4-in-1 tutorial using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette. It's a palette that I've been loving lately because it's so versatile. You get a ton of different, more wearable options as well as some great, deep, dramatic shades. So I really wanted to show that with this, 4-in-1 tutorial. Let's go ahead and jump in. So to start, I'm taking the fluffy end of the brush that comes with this palette and going into the shade Golden Ochre and running that through my crease. Then for a brow bone highlight, I'm going in with the same brush into the shade Tempera and running that on my brow bone right beneath my eyebrow. Next, I'm adding a little bit of depth to the outer half of my eyelid, once again using that same brush, but going into the shade Raw Sienna, buffing that in light circular motions out there. This, for me, is probably one of the more natural wearable looks for the daytime, so there's not a whole lot of contrast amongst the shades on my lid, but we will get there. We got 3 more looks coming up, so I just wanted to show just how barely there this palette could be. On to Primavera, this beautiful, soft, golden, shimmery shade. I'm using, finally switching the brushes up, the flat end of the brush that comes with this palette. I love the brush in this palette, in case you couldn't tell by the way. I think it's super useful, really practical, but also good quality brush. But I'm using that side to kind of pack that shade somewhat across the rest of my eyelid, as well as my inner corner and the inner half of my lower lash line. Flip that brush over once again and then blend everything out together. The mascara that I'm using in this look is the same actually across all 4 looks, and it is the Inglot Long 4 mascara. So in case you're wondering, that's what's making my lashes super voluminous and long. The rest of my products on my face, bronzer, blush, brows, you name it, I'll list all that in the info bar below because it is all the same for all these 4 looks. The only thing that really changes beyond the eyes is the lips, so I will talk about that with each look. And this is Anastasia Beverly Hills Lip Gloss in the shade Vintage. And that really completes the look. So let's jump into look number 2, which uses probably my favorite shade in this palette, the beautiful burnt orange Realgar. Hope I'm saying that right. We're gonna go with it. I'm using the fluffy, once again, the fluffy end of the brush that comes with this palette to work that throughout my crease. Then onto the shade ironically called burnt orange, given the way I just described that previous shade, but I'm working that in circular motions in my outer corner, really the outer half of the lid, kind of to help that crease color blend in with the other shade that I'm going to put on my lid space. And then I'm using the flat edge of the other side of that brush to work that same shade on my lower lash line. And then once again for this look, I'm going in with Tempera and using that as my brow bone highlight. Then once again, I'm going in with the shade Primavera, same flat shader brush, and patting that all over the inner half of my lid, inner corner, and the inner part of my lower lash line. I chose to stick with this shade in this look because the rest of the shades are somewhat warmer, and the other kind of light shimmery shade, Vermeer, is a little bit cooler, a little bit more purple leaning. We will use that coming up though. Then to add a little bit more drama to the outer corner, I went into the shade Red Ochre, flat shader side of that brush, and I'm just blending that into the outer third of the lid, outer corner I would say. Also, because I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video, and I still got some blending business to do here, obviously. Over the course of the videos I've made over the past month, a lot of you have been asking me what I'm wearing on my eyes. Can I do a tutorial? These 4 looks literally sum up everything I have worn for the past month. So hopefully this has you covered for all of your tutorial questions for, literally videos for the past month. Onto the lips, this is a Dailybaileyb Auto Lip Crayon in the shade Helen of Troy. And that is look number 2. Moving on to the third look, I really wanted to show the beautiful plums in this palette. Not only does it have those rich oranges, some nice neutral browns, the beautiful berries, obviously, but you can also create a good solid plum look. So I am starting with that shade Vermeer and using a different brush. I finally dirtied the brush that came with this palette up enough to where I had to switch to another brush. And so I'm just using, kind of a fluffier flat shader to apply that all over most of my lid, my inner corner, and the inner half of my lower lash line. Moving on to the crease shade, I'm using Buon Fresco from this palette and sweeping that through my crease. This is just a really beautiful dusty plum shadow, great for blending, great for all over the lid. but it's also a really nice best friend blending shade for some of those brighter pinks in the palette that a lot of people might not be as comfortable working with. You slap some of this on in conjunction with those, and I think you'll find you have a much softer, more wearable look, what some might consider anyway. Then for highlight, once again, this is my go-to highlight shade. This is Tempera, and I'm just applying that right, you got it, underneath my eyebrows. Now onto that outer corner shade. This is Antique Bronze, which is a beautiful shimmery plum shade, but it has a hint of gold shift to it, I would say, but like an antique gold, not a bright in-your-face yellow kind of gold. Very flattering, very complex shade, and just beautiful in general. So I'm applying that to the outer half of my lid. Finally, for the shadows in look 3, couldn't do without a little bit of extra drama in that outer corner, so I'm taking kind of a broad but small domed fluffy brush and going into the shade Cypress Umber, which is a cool leaning deep chocolate brown, and using that in the outer kind of V area of my eye. And then keeping the lips super simple with this look, this is just the Bite Beauty Agave Lip Mask, which is slightly tinted, so it gives the lips a nice healthy kind of berry balmy look. On to look 4, clearly the most dramatic of the bunch. I'm starting off with the shade Love Letter, which is a beautiful deep, I would say pink, but really it leans pretty purple, so it's almost a fuchsia when you wear it on the eyes. And so I'm patting that using kind of a fluffy but mostly flat shader brush to pack that pigment on to the most of the mobile part of my lid, steering clear of the inner third though, I would say. And then I'm moving into Warm Taupe for my crease shade. Gotta say though, in hindsight, I think I would have gone with Buon Fresco from look number 3. That I used my crease shade there, just because those plum tones do lend itself better to blending out Love Letter, that beautiful pink, but I'm not unhappy with the way this turned out. Just a suggestion if you try this yourself. Then for the inner third part of the lid that I didn't cover with Love Letter, I'm going in with Antique Bronze, and this is what makes this shade so unique to me. It looked deep when I used it in look number 3, it like added a little bit of depth and drama, but here compared to Love Letter, it kind of brightens the look up with that gold shift. I love that shade. Then for the pop of brightness in the inner corner, I went in with Primavera, just a little dab to open up the eyes there. And then the last shadow for this look is Cypress Umber, that same deep chocolatey brown that I used before, adding a lot more drama here to the outer corner. I found that it made the bright pink a little less severe while not detracting from the, amped up drama of the look. And then I went in with a liquid liner just to differentiate this look even further from the 3 previous that were a little bit softer, a little bit more blended. This gives a nice, clean, crisp line to that liner. This is a felt tip liner from Charlotte Tilbury, but really any your favorite black liner will do. And last but not least for this tutorial are the lips. This is one of the new Urban Decay lipsticks in the shade Naked. It's a cream finish and relatively natural, something that doesn't compete with the eyes. Your favorite nude lip will do, but this is the final 4th look using the Modern Renaissance palette. I really hoped you guys enjoyed this tutorial, that it wasn't too long, but I just really wanted to show how versatile this palette is. It is really what I've been loving for the past month and a half, 2 months since I've gotten it. So like I said, hope you enjoyed it, hope it was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye guys!